I've been asked many times to do this, and I've resisted it. And I've resisted it because for me to come up with my favorite announcers is tough because, when I looked around, I did a lot of looking around over the last couple hours at what other people's opinions are, and I looked over all the announcers. And for me to pick favorites is not easy because there aren't many announcers I don't like. And I don't want to get into announcers I don't like, just get into announcers that I do. Because announcing hockey games, that is a really hard job. It's very, very difficult to announce a hockey game. And, I have great admiration for guys that can do it for years and years, night in and night out. It's a very difficult job. So these are my 10 favorite play by play and color guys. So we'll get into number 10 on the play by play first. Dennis Bayak does the Winnipeg Jets games, and he does World Junior Hockey as well. He's very entertaining, and he's good at it. And play by play, really, a lot of it comes down to accuracy, and for me, the emotion that the voice brings to the game. And yet there are some announcers I had to take out. Rick Jenneret, for example, is not on this list. Probably the top honorable mention. Number 10 for color guys. And you know what's funny? Dennis Potvin does the Florida games. Denny Potvin. I don't know why I got two N's in there for Dennis. Denny Potvin does the Florida games, and he is an unabashed homer. Like it is, but it's funny to listen to, and it's very entertaining. The Florida announcers are genuinely entertaining. Steve Goldstein is the announcer, the play-by-play guy for Florida. He didn't make the top 10, but he got an honorable mention from me as well. Potvin is entertaining because anytime Florida's losing like 5-1 or anything, you'll hear Potvin like, all they need is one. All they need here is one. They're down by 4 and there's 5 minutes left, but if they can get one here, I think they got a chance. And it's like I love that kind of optimism. Number 9, and I understand this guy's very popular online. St. Louis announcer John Kelly. John Kelly is very good at what he does. The St. Louis feed on Fox Sports is fantastic. I love this, and these are all going to be NHL announcers. So if you're waiting for announcers for other leagues, I'm sorry it's not here. Number 9 on color. It's a bit weird to hear Kelly Hrudey doing color on the Calgary games, but he's good at it. One thing with Kelly Hrudey, he's not the most emotional guy, but with Kelly Hrudey during any given game, he'll say something as the color guy that you can only have knowledge of having played the game. And he doesn't do it in a way that's, I know better than everybody else, listen to everything I know. And there are announcers that are like that. That are sort of like, yeah, well, I played 1,000 games in the NHL. How many did you play? None. Then you don't have a right to an opinion. And that can be fun to listen to. But Kelly Hrudey has a really easy style to him, and it's funny because when they had Behind the Mask, which was a segment that they had every other night in the playoffs to give Don Cherry the night off, I really thought that Kelly Hrudey was going to become a replacement for Don Cherry. He'll never have that passion. He'll never be outspoken, but he's intelligent, and I enjoy listening to him. Number 8. This one's not going to make people happy. From what I read online, most people can't stand listening to Vancouver games. But you know what? There's a fun to the way John Shorthouse calls a game, and there's a fun that the Vancouver announcers are having this year with the fact the team isn't very good, and they had that last year. And announcers who are still emotionally invested in games where their team's getting killed night in, night out, their team may not be very good. Those can be fun guys to listen to. So for me, John Shorthouse is one of my favorites. Number 8 in the color commentaries. This is a guy a lot of people don't like him. He's not Pierre Maguire. Pierre Maguire is one that we can all agree we don't like. Mike Milbury's not on this. Jeremy Roenick's not on this. But Ray Ferraro is. Ray Ferraro, again, much like Kelly Hrudey, I learned listening to Ferraro. Yes, I know he can be condescending. Ray Ferraro can be condescending, and that can be off-putting. But, how many games have you played in the NHL? I'm just kidding. Ray Ferraro is... Yeah. He's in my top 8, obviously. He's not top 7 because there are things that I find off-putting about him. But he's entertaining. He's entertaining to listen to. Number 7. And this one's weird because, I'm used to him being the color guy. And he's doing the best he can as a play-by-play guy. But Daryl Ray is better off as the color guy. Craig Ludwig is and I was glad to find this as an opinion that people share online. Craig Ludwig is brutal to listen to. Now, maybe Craig Ludwig is learning and he'll get better. Some guys get better. Greg Millen's a good example of a guy who was brutal to listen to his first year. And he's improved a ton since then. He's not in my top 10, but he's improved a lot since then. Maybe Craig Ludwig will get better as time goes on. I'm willing to give him that leash. There are other fans in hockey who don't want him to have that, want Daryl Ray to go back to color, and for Dallas to get a new play-by-play guy. Ray does well, though. Again, going from color to play-by-play, that's not an easy transition. Number 7 for me on the color, and I'm gonna say right up front, I've been watching the Boston game today, and it's a delight listening to Andy Brickley. A Boston player could decapitate a player on the other team, and he'd be like, I'm pretty sure he didn't have a head when he hit the ice. I know how this replay might look, but I don't even know if that's a penalty. I don't even know if that should be a penalty. Did he sneeze right before he swung his stick like that? Because, man, you sneeze, that can make your stick swing really, really fast. Brickley's homerism is really funny. And Potvin's, puts him on the top 10. But Brickley's it is magical listening to this man and his blatant... And I'm a Bruins fan. Remember, I'm a Bruins fan. And I watch the play and I'm like today, Marchand gets an interference call on Duclair. And to me, it's clearly a penalty. And I'm like, holy crap, does he really have to try to decapitate everybody? And there's the Boston announcers like, that's not a penalty. I'm like, come on, guys. Come on. And I agree that Marchand gets calls against him based on his reputation, but that was clearly a penalty. And he may get a call from the league about it. But here's Brickley and Edwards going, it's fine. It's fine. I don't understand what the big deal is. So Duclair's concussed. He was probably concussed before he got on the ice. It's not a big deal. He fell down pretty easy. His head's not attached very well. And again, and I'm just talking as a person who watches hockey. It's hilarious to listen to, and I say that even as a guy who cheers for Boston, and I'm acknowledging that the announcers for the team I cheer for are very biased. Number 6, Chicago announcer. Makes Hawks games fun to listen to, Pat Foley. I've never been a big Hawks fan. When you hear Chelsea Dagger as a Canucks fan, you kind of die a little bit inside. A lot of hockey fans do. But Pat Foley is very entertaining to listen to. I don't sense a lot of bias with him. And I know there's going to be people who argue with me on that because this is a very divisive topic. This is why I didn't really want to cover it. But Pat Foley for me is number 6. Number 6, and again, color. I think a big part of being a color guy is being able to do the self-deprecating humor, and John Garrett's very good at it for Vancouver. I did read one run criticism of the Shorthouse Garrett team in that Shorthouse doesn't run that team, that Garrett kind of runs the commentary, and it's true. But John Garrett always has very entertaining stories, and I know there are fans outside of Vancouver and some inside Vancouver that can't stand Garrett and Shorthouse and are going to look at this countdown and say, are you serious? But they're a fun tandem to listen to. The game can be 7-0 in favor of the other team, and often is. And yet they make the game still watchable because their commentary is fun, and they're aware the game is crap, and they just have fun with it from there. Number 5, and again, you want to talk about a homer, but he's a good announcer. Jack Edwards of Boston Bruins, Nesson, is a very good announcer. He is highly, highly biased in favor of Boston. He is highly. Another example from today's game even was he said that Brad Marchand could get suspended for flossing his teeth. For not flossing his teeth. Either way, it's still ridiculous. And you know, I'm again. Marchand has that reputation for a reason. It's not like all the kids in the NHL got together and decided today's the day we're going to pick on Brad Marchand. It's not some schoolyard thing. And Edwards and you know I love the guy, but man, his bias in favor of the Bruins is funny. And again, as a guy who cheers for the team, I should have those same colored glasses. I should be like, yeah, Marchand gets screwed by the league, but I don't. I know why he has that reputation. I get it. Number 5 on the color side of things, Ed Olczyk. Of course, Ed Olczyk's been going through cancer treatments this year, which has limited his amount of work in the room or in the booth. But he is tremendously respected and revered in the community, and he really is one of the best at his job. You have Olczyk and Foley together, you've got a pretty good team right there for Chicago. And to me, anyways, it was tough to kind of put him at 5th. I thought, Shannon, you should probably put him at 1st. This has been a rough year for him, but I put him at 5th because, there were 4 other guys that I really liked listening to more, but it's a tough call. Number 4. I'm going to get this out of the way. Bob Cole should have retired probably 5 years ago. Bob Cole has struggles in the booth, and you can hear them any given game. But when I hear Bob Cole's voice, that's Hockey Night in Canada. Anytime I hear this man call a game, and it doesn't matter to me how many names he butchers, how many he gets wrong, how many players he mischaracterizes, he's fantastic to listen to. That voice is my childhood. It is me as a 10-year-old kid watching a hockey game. It is me watching Stanley Cup playoffs and watching the Stanley Cup finals. It is me experiencing all of this. So I can't not have Bob Cole in the top 10 just because he's past it. He's still calling games, not as much as he used to. He doesn't get the spotlight like he used to. But man, when Bob Cole starts a game, I'm listening because the little kid in me wants to hear the game. Number 4 on this side, Buffalo's Rob Ray. I always get a kick out of Rob Ray. I didn't see many mentions of Rob Ray, good or bad, in any of the posts I saw about who people liked as announcers, but I get a kick out of them. Again, when you've got a color guy who can use self-deprecating humor, that's a benefit, and Rob Ray does that. And your enforcer and your backup goalie are probably your most popular players. Looking back to the 90s, your most popular players would be those guys. And Rob Ray is certainly a pillar of the community of Buffalo. And he's really kind of the guy who holds that team together now. Jenner is a little bit past it, and Rob Ray really keeps things on track. Number 3. When Chris Cuthbert gets really excited and a goal is scored, a friend of mine and I, this is decades ago, we used to joke that he sounded like Kermit the Frog. That, it's the Muppet Show, yay! That's the voice that Chris Cuthbert turns into when there's an exciting goal scored. But Chris Cuthbert, you feel his excitement for the game, and you don't see so much homerism, and people talk about homerism. Here's the thing. Especially for regional broadcasts, there's going to be homers. Because they're fans. Now, it's going to be worse with some teams than with others, but there's going to be homerism that goes on. It's just part of the game. They're fans like we are. I mean, if you or myself or any of us were calling games and our favorite team's involved and our favorite team gets a big goal in a big game, it's kind of hard not to be excited. it's kind of more off-putting if your color guy for your regional home broadcasts doesn't really care. He's like, yeah, they scored, and yeah, whatever. That's more off-putting than anything in my eyes. If a guy's flipping out because your team scored, I'm okay with that. Tampa, Michigan, yeah, he goes a little bit over. I think he breaks glass in the house when Tampa scores, but you got to admire his passion for the Tampa Bay Lightning. He's not on the list. Number 3 on color guys. I was torn on this one. Now, somebody said on one of the posts I read that Candanico sounds like Jesse the Body Ventura. Oh no, he sounds like Leaping Lanny Poffo. That's what I hear when I hear Candanico. And it's funny because, I'm watching Devils games, and sometimes I forget that it's Candanico, and I'm like, why do they have a wrestler doing the color commentary? And Danico is fun to listen to. There are times where, yes, I could understand how he might be off-putting, but he's good. I'm not a huge fan of the play-by-play guy for the Devils games, but I do like Candanico. I do, though. Another honorable mention goes to Sam Rosen of the New York Rangers, and Dave Randorf who does some Toronto games. I like Randorf as well. I know there's a lot of people that don't. He doesn't quite make my top 10. But Danico makes top 3 for color commentator. Number 2. Jim Houston. And again, Jim Houston, much like Bob Cole, it's for some really great memories I've had of him as a commentator. Yes, he cheers for the Canucks. Yes, he does. Yes, when it's a Canucks game, he gets a little bit more excited when they score. Yes, he does. I agree. I'm fine with that. And he's a national commentator, and that does he need to tone that down? Yep, probably. But to me, great save Cloutier is what I remember with him the most. He could really make you think your goaltender was a world beater, and he really puts everything out there. And I don't have a problem with him when he's commentating on other games, and that seems to be a criticism I see too, that he's not very passionate about other teams. He still commentates well. I'm not a fan of Craig Simpson. I think him and Craig Simpson have been a team for a very, very, very long time. I think Craig Simpson is knowledgeable. I don't find Simpson to be particularly engaging, and sometimes I can forget Craig Simpson's in the booth. So I remember things said by Houston, but I may forget things that are said by Craig Simpson. That's just me personally. I know there's people who like Craig Simpson. Number 2. Detroit's Mickey Redman. Redman gets a lot of contrasting opinions too. I like him though. I think he's one of those guys that at least once during any Detroit game I watch, he'll say something and I'll learn something from him. And that's what a good color guy should do. A good color guy is there to be a compliment to the broadcaster who's doing the play-by-play, and to give you some kind of knowledge of what's going on that we may not see as fans, that he may know as a player, or well, former player. And in some cases, some of these guys talk to the team a lot, and they may give you some insight on where a guy is mentally, physically, how things are going for them, how they're playing through struggles, this kind of thing. Mickey Redman's really good at that kind of stuff, and most color guys are. Just some of them bring it across better than others. Number 1, play-by-play guy for me, and I had to really think this one over, is Doc Emmerich. Now, Doc Emmerich takes a lot of flack, and there's a lot of people that say they don't like him. I agree that in the NHL games, his announcing is boring, and it's the same phrases every year, recycled over and over and over again. That's not his fault. That's EA making a game where they require a certain number of phrases, and then they plug them into plays that sometimes it doesn't even make sense what he's saying. But I like Doc Emmerich. I get a kick out of watching him call games. As much as Bob Cole to me is hockey in Canada, Doc Emmerich is hockey in the States. So if I turn on an NBC broadcast, I hear Doc Emmerich, I feel good because I know that while I'm going to have to listen to Milbury and McGuire and Roenick, at least I got Doc Emmerich. And I really cannot state enough how much I'm not a Pierre Maguire fan. I totally... It's funny because, you know, I watch... I've done a video on hockey not being bigger in the States than what it is, and I really think the announced team that they pick for national broadcast in the States hurts it. Because they're just not particularly likable. Milbury he's not a warm guy. And it's not like Don Cherry where there's this really strong warmth that's in there, and sometimes he'll tear up when he talks about the military and some poor kid that's gone over and lost his life, and you really feel that from Don. With Mike, he just always seems irritated to be there. Always seems like he'd rather be somewhere else. Like he should just be checking his watch every minute and a half, and it's tough. My number one favorite color guy, and anybody who's listened to my previews and reviews and just me talk about players who are now color guys should know this is coming, because he is... Anytime I know that I'm gonna listen to Daren Pang, I'm far more likely to watch. Panger he's the best at what he does. Every person who does color could listen to Daren Pang and learn something from him. He is funny, insightful, popular. I don't think anybody dislikes him. I didn't see anybody bad-mouthing him on any of the posts that I was looking at or any of the polls I looked at. Panger he is a delight. And it's part of the reason why I like watching St. Louis Blues broadcasts. If there's a bunch of games on, I may end up sitting on the Blues broadcast because I know I'm going to listen to Panger. And Daren Pang he's fantastic. But again, this is my opinion. You guys can let me know your opinions on who the best are or aren't. And this is really tough to rank. I had to scratch names out and put new names in, and then I had to look through other resources. I'm like, oh, I can't forget this guy. So, again, it's a really tough job. It's not a job I would want because it's a thankless kind of job. If it's sort of like a referee or a linesman, if they're doing their job really well, you may forget that they're who they are. You may forget who called the play-by-play that night. Like if Doc Emmerich took sick and somebody filled in for him and you couldn't really remember who it was, that means the guy did a good job. If you are, oh, I know exactly who that guy is, he probably made you angry during the game and you probably want to complain about the job he did. So there you go. 10 best play-by-play, 10 best color, in this man's opinion. Let me know yours. Hit like and subscribe if you're just browsing your way through. You happen upon this video, and thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.